worked on it on January 25th? No. I can't remember what day it was. And then
Can talk about it. Maybe. January 11th.
okay, and what you have here in front of you is the final copy. And Denise has got a couple of questions, and I think Jerry had one too.
No, I think that's
Okay.
The only thing I wondered is, we had talked about those speed signs. You guys wanted Fred to call
Oh yeah.
the agency transportation again. Fred asked if I'd do it for him. So I had called, and there is no grant available. There's no traffic study to be done here. Eric who helps out Shane Warren, and Shane told me the same thing. There is no way that we can get a traffic study done here. Get like free ones from Lowell or whatever. So I didn't know if that's something that you wanted to add in the budget, to look into that. So,
We had also asked the school, or I thought if they wanted to help participate in that.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. It comes out of town money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you guys think, want to spend $4,000 per sign?
well, are they 4,000?
No,
no, you found
2000,
2005 is
Yeah.
what you have.
Yeah.
5 or 50 or something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
So
4,000 for the tool.
Right.
Those are the 9-inch ones. So the letters are going to be this. The numbers are going to be this big, 9-inch.
9
Yeah, as opposed to the 13-inch ones. You have in other
Are they
areas.
as effective?
You don't see them quite as far away, but
This one here, why was this traffic safety one $7,200? Because those must be wicked lot bigger, right?
I would imagine yes.
It's still solar.
Well, you have to double check to make sure that it's still solar. Yes.
Oh, this is weird. This says AC powered, 3-cell battery powered, 4-cell. Solar powered model.
Okay.
Not including solar panel or bracket.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't have it in memory.
These appear bigger, but I don't know, so that's $7,200, and then this guy here, that's same year guy, 2005.
Can we add signs on the highway, state highway?
No, you have to get a
No, you have
permit,
to get a permit to do it.
but Shane said that he'd help us with that, and it's pretty
Yeah.
boilerplate permit. Shane Warren said
Oh.
it's not a big deal.
So we got to buy a sign to put out on the state highway, and we have to get a permit to put it out there.
Like Lowell had to get a permit, whenever other towns have them.
I don't know. Up to you guys.
It's up to us.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna put a sign up there on each end of town.
And I didn't know if,
Well,
We're not gonna get any support from the school.
I personally think it would help, and the school's going to benefit probably the most.
or the post office, like there's a lot of.
Post office, grocery store. I
You
think
guys
they're
know
going to.
what we're talking about. Putting the signs up, speed signs on the end of town.
Yeah.
But it is 35 through town. It just some people don't transition from 50 down. Holds it right there, right through town.
We've spent a lot of time standing in the road with giant orange signs and vests and flashlights, and they don't slow down for that either, so.
But it seems to help, like Lowell, it seemed to help going through there, that sign flashing at you saying, you're doing 47.
Oh, the radar ones.
Yes,
I
that's what we're talking about, the radar ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, that's for sure.
What's that?
It doesn't hurt, that's for sure.
Well, and that's what we're talking about. Do we spend $5,000 probably by the time we're all done, getting a couple of these to put on each end of town? Or I think it'd be worth it myself. I think we spend
I think it'd be
$5,000 on
worth
worse
it.
things.
Do you know that if you aim your motorcycle at one and really pull the trigger, it stops and does, it just won't go higher.
No, probably won't.
There's that type out there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you met his father?
Yeah,
Anyway,
We don't have that money in the budget.
we do not yet.
So it would be under the highway department, page 5, I guess it is.
I didn't know if you wanted to put that under miscellaneous expenses,
I think it ought to be under the highway.
maybe under page 5.
Doesn't he have a one for signs?
Oh, yeah, good thinking.
I can't find it. Road signs. It's second one down, 90-57.15 road sign. He currently has $2,000.
Second one down. Oh,
Yeah.
second group down.
Do we want to increase that to 6?
The 7, you mean?
To 7.
Oh, right.
I think we're looking at close to mine.
I think by the time we're all done, by the time they're all in place, I think it'd be closer to 5.
Okay.
Or should it be a separate item, seeing it's probably gonna be a one-time thing?
No, we could put it right into
Can
road
put it in.
signs, yeah,
Yeah, I'd say we should add it.
okay. So, before you guys sign the warrant, I'll just change that,
Mhm.
we'll have a new figure.
Okay,
So the stores and the post office and the school and everything else, I just think it, Gotta help,
Recycling's done
we
it,
can't
yeah.
You're right, I don't think it can hurt. That's for sure.
does that send a radio signal to a printer?
no.
So you don't have any paper recordings of
No.
anything that happened?
Actually, the state, and I called Lowell, and I called another town that has them, and escaping which one, and they said that it is proven. The town clerk in Lowell said it definitely helps.
Oh.
Usually it's
Signs me
because
up
of the
on
cruiser that's sitting down there just on the other side of the hedge.
That
Gets
helps a
my
lot too.
attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
It
said that,
probably makes that cruiser park there more often too, because he knows that.
yeah.
They're being told. They're not listening.
Right. So, we don't need a motion to increase that?
No.
Okay.
I'll go change the.
So
one.
who's going to be responsible for the securing of those signs? If this budget passes?
I don't know,
Is that Fred going to do that?
Ordering them?
Yeah.
Oh,
probably, maybe work with,
And then getting them installed? That's the other thing. And the permit and all that other
I
stuff.
can do the primary machine. He said he'd help us with that, we can figure that out.
And we didn't put the money in for that permit that we have to get to work on our roads?
No, that's the other thing I got here.
oh, that's right.
That's to do with that girl that came here. That's what that's about.
Yeah, the A&R is going around and inventorying all of our wet spots, or what do they call it, the drainage. And because we do any work on the road, from what I've read, do any work on the roads, it has to pertain to the permit, because what you do has to fix runoff so it doesn't end up going into the waterway.
Yeah.
So whether it's stone to ditches and line and
So would that go under contracted services? Let's see where it'd be, or other expenses.
Probably put it under, expenses. I'd probably just put it under miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, I was just gonna say,
Under page 5, under miscellaneous expenses, we got $5 grand
But
in
should
there.
we have that as a special thing, because it's gonna come every year?
there is
Yeah.
commercial licenses down underneath other expenses.
And I could change that. I could change the title of that if you wanted to.
Well, that's for the CDLs, if we have to start paying for them.
Oh, okay.
But I could change that.
why don't we just put it in its own line item? I mean, we can do that, can't we?
Sure.
Because if it's gonna be an every year thing that we've
It's gotta
gotta
be a
pay.
year thing, I'd say.
Yeah, and it will definitely go up. Permit expense.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
permit.
Yeah, why don't we just put it under its own?
Okay, so what would you like to call it?
Permit expense,
Highway permit.
highway permits.
We need to, pay the state to work on our own roads.
Okay, it's the 2640.
$2,640 a year. 2,000's for the permit. The rest is administrative costs.
And we've gotten that back in grants or whatever to work on culverts and stuff like that. So
She's helped us a lot.
yeah, she's helped us a lot.
But this is an agency of natural resources.
Right.
And the money is to help clean up Lake Champlain. We need to make sure we say that because that's what Act 40, what is it?
They gave an honorable mention to
40.
Magog.
Yeah, 43 or 46.
There's more of our water goes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Did you have something that better than Francisco?
No,
Yeah.
that was it.
That was it.
I think that was it for me.
Right.
Oh, no, one more thing. On my budget, or the general fund budget, I forgot
Furniture?
no, I forgot to mention this last time, the centennial.
Oh, that's
going-
right.
That's going on in the city. I didn't know if we wanted to maybe put some money aside. I'd love to see us do something, you know, after town meeting, get a committee together or whatever, and put a float in or do something, you know. I think that's a big deal, personally.
Who's
I-
going to head that up?
Well, I've already talked to some people that would be interested in getting on a bandwagon and doing something. I don't know whether it's a float or, you know, we should do something substantial for that parade. We're gonna have a wicked big parade, I guess. And Steve Edgerly goes to a lot of the centennial meetings. Becky Terrian told me that she'd be interested in helping out. I was thinking of maybe getting like a home dem, with, you know, Amy Patno and Linda Waterman, some of the people on the home dem, see if they wanted to do something. You know, maybe get some kids involved. I don't know. It would be nice to have some money in there. That's totally up to you guys, but just a thought.
What do you think, guys? Page 2, right in the middle of the page, goes Recreation and Parks, first line, City of Newport. We used to say wash station, but we can have Denise change that to Centennial.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
What do you think all that's gonna cost us?
I couldn't even venture a guess. I don't know. I had wrote down a figure of $3,000, but I can't even tell you if that's accurate. You know, I don't know what's involved in doing a float. I'm sure that we could get donations. You know, people, maybe a business would donate and give some money towards it. You know, like the stores maybe. You know, get a little sign for everybody that donates or something. I don't know. Just batting around ideas.
They were talking also of having, when I went to one of their meetings, a train, old antique train, that was pulling a car with people in it, you know, like they used to, going through the city and through Newport Town and up to Troy and wherever, and then back down through.
Past the river.
And I thought that would be something that would entice communities to, but big money, they were like $40,000 to run that train.
Yeah.
So, and then they were gonna charge, I can't remember what it was, $25 or $30 a head for people to get on it and go for a ride. So it just was kind of,
Not many people are gonna get on that.
no,
I don't think.
right.
Not at that
I have a
price.
suggestion. The play companies, they're active and there's a lot of great talent there. You could have something in the way of for the actors and singers and stuff like that. I think that would be interesting. You know what I mean? You have them come up with something that's relative. You know, I've worked at a couple of the in the pit band for the plays and everything. There's a lot of great singers and actors and you know what I mean?
On a float going through town.
Yeah. I mean, that's common to see stuff like that, but it would be more interesting in some of the things I've heard you say already, and I guarantee they'd love to do it. Q-Neck, and I forget the names of the companies, but they do. You know, you could come up with some creative stuff with them. They probably wouldn't charge you too much money, or maybe even donate. I don't know, but it just came to me because they pull in crowds. You know, every time they have those plays, they fill.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem putting $3,000.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know what you guys think, if it's too much, that's not enough, I don't have any idea what
I
it's
don't
all
either.
cost.
I don't,
Not a lot of money today.
I know,
No.
I don't know if you guys wanna put more in, I mean, we wanna do something very nice, in my opinion.
So if you got a trailer from your uncle
Mm-hmm.
and something to pull it, he would charge the whole $3,000. And there'd be nothing left over to.
Because if we got a,
This is on film, so
but if we got a
hopefully now it'll be a donation.
And you're dating yourself. There's no film in there.
oh, God.
Of course, if we got an old tractor and an old hay wagon, you know, I mean, that'd be up to a committee, you know, we'd form a committee.
You got a
just to-
48 Ford that
Yeah.
runs once in a while.
I don't know if you guys wanna put more, put 5,000?
Well, let's start with 3 and go from there. Get donations for others.
Mhm.
Beyond that.
Do you want 3 or do you want 5?
I mean, I don't know, what does a float cost? You guys ever,
I have not a clue. Never made one.
No.
Our Fred friend has been asked to participate in that, and we don't have a solid plan yet either.
You don't?
We will probably at least provide some manpower to the festivities, if nothing else.
So
Yeah.
maybe you want to jump on our bandwagon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some cash. If
I got an older tractor that always runs.
Okay.
We'll definitely be doing something.
I wonder if maybe we could do something together, you know, I'll tell you when we do a committee meeting or whatever.
Yeah, we have no decision made, so we're willing to talk to anybody.
There you go.
Let's go 3,000.
3?
Okay.
That
was Denise's first thought. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know where I came up with that number, it was just a number.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's the only things I have.
That's enough. Okay.
Nothing else?
That's all I have. I don't know, did you guys find anything poke out at you guys? Or-
No, I looked over it up until 1. No, that was on this.
Yeah, on the one, yeah.
I did look this over and I didn't see anything.
Okay. Perfect. So I'll change before you guys, like I said before, I'll sign the warrant article and change a few items, a few numbers.
So at this point, do you want us to look over these other voted articles to check the?
Yeah, I do believe that to finalize the budget, do you need a?
Oh, that's just our budget. Okay. So with corrections, do you have a total figure?
Well, for the.
Are you all set with the paving? Okay.
Actually, the budget will be finalized in the, when you sign the warrant, so the amount will be in the warrant, so I guess you could just.
Do you want a motion to approve as corrected? I don't have a
I
dollar
don't
figure.
think we have to.
No,
until
because it'll be in the
she
warrant,
has the-
so it'll be in the signed warrant.
Okay. All right. Any other subtractions or additions to the budget?
I don't see any.
So, good, we're set with that then.
And like I say, I'll go back in and change it.
So now we do the other articles.
Yeah, just if you guys would just go down the warning just to make sure.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I looked up under last year's to see about the elected people and we're fine.
we're fine now, okay.
Yeah.
And then.
The only one question I had was that we had last year a school director for a 3-year term, a 2-year term, and a 1-year term.
Yeah, it's because somebody got voted in and
Perfect.
got, what do you call it?
Yeah, that's what I
appointed.
thought it was. It's usually just 3 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't need to do a high school because that was done last year. That's a 2-year.
That's a 2-year term, yeah. And then on page 2, it's gonna be, then we get to number 6. which is the fire department. And I got a note from Kurt Flynn that said, somewhere in here, he wrote, the Newport Center Fire Department will not be asking for a budget increase this year. We will be keeping the current amount of $30,000, which is their regular. We will be asking for $175,000 to purchase a new tanker, which is desperately needed. I would like to set up a meeting with the select board to discuss what we are looking for. And I had mentioned, I asked Kurt the question. I told him that we'd be having a meeting here at 5:30 to finalize the budget, and he said we'll be there. And I asked him if the 175 was like a one year thing, or was it going to be a matter of over 3 years? And he said, I think the 175 will be a one time instead of 3 years, but we'll follow up on that. So I'm assuming that's what these guys are here for. And that's what the number 7 is here.
Gentlemen,
We're looking to replace our tanker, and been searching for a couple of years for a used one, and we're not having much luck. Used ones are typically early 2000s for $100 or $125 or $150,000, which is give or take $100,000 less than a new one from a United States fire truck manufacturer. And we figured that was the best we could do, but we didn't find one that really suited us, especially considering they're 10, 15 years into their lifespan. The best 10 or 15 years too. And Lowell Fire Department bought a tanker this year from a company in Quebec that we thought was a smoking deal. It is functionally and durability wise a match, I think, for anything that we've looked at from the traditional fire department manufacturers. It is probably a step down in bells and whistles and fit and finish, but not a big step. And with the Canadian exchange, we can get a brand new truck for $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 more than a used up truck or partly used truck. So it seemed to us like smart money. The truck we have now is not junk, but it's dated. It's 30 years old. It's an 89, and it's been surpassed by everybody around us, which sounds a little bit like, well, my truck's not big enough anymore. But when you're working with other tankers, being similarly sized, similarly powered, similarly set up, makes everything flow better. And we're outclassed. We're taking 50% less water with longer trips in a lot of cases. So we're going to have to put a good number of thousands of dollars into this old truck if we have to keep it. And it's still going to be a 30-plus-year-old truck that's not up to the current standards of what we're dealing with around us. So that's what we're proposing. As for the payment, I don't think we're set on paying it off in 1 year, except that, and I have asked this question and I don't know the exact answer yet, because of the Canadian exchange, I think we're going to have to pay for it when we order it. It's the only way we're going to know what we're going to pay. So.
and the duty to get it across? And does it meet DOT's?
It does. They do meet DOT standards. There is a holdup at the Canadian side. The hole was, I think, 4 weeks.
Approximately a
Getting
month.
the damn thing across the border before the Canadian inspector that will never ever see the truck again probably said it was okay. There is a little bit of red tape, a little bit of pain in the butt stuff,
But that is included in,
but that's all included in the price.
Is speedometer going to be in kilometers?
I think they're electronic now. I think you just tag, but we'll find out. I hadn't thought of that. We'll find out.
Here's a couple. I mean, if you just the specs on it, if you wanted to look at it.
And the one you have now is just currently underpowered.
No, it's not just underpowered. It's
With the water situation in town,
That's going to get better.
Hopefully, right? Right now, our tanker hauls right around 2,000 gallons. This one, we're looking at right around 3,400 gallons. So that, for us, pulling up on a scene is vital. Our engine 1 has 1,000 gallons of water. Engine 2 has 1,500. Usually, engine 1 is going to respond with the tanker. That's going to give us, 1,400 more gallons, which is a lot more water.
In 2013, we did 100 and some odd thousand for a 2,000 gallon fire truck.
It's not, it's a, no, it wasn't 2,000 gallons.
It was 1,500.
1,500 and
$75,000.
$75,000.
There's technically it's 2,000 gallons.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
That one's 1,500.
What kind of truck is it?
Freightliner
Freightliner.
is the,
Oh,
is the
Freightliner,
chassis.
chassis.
That is who that company deals with. They did tell us we could get whatever we wanted, but it was, then we have to deal with getting it across the border to be worked on and back across the border here.
And the sad truth nowadays, our tanker is a manual. The new trucks are automatic, which helps in many situations.
We're down to one professional truck.
How much do you think you can get for your old one?
Not much. And I don't know the exact answer for that, but it has no resale value as a fire truck. It's going to go to somebody who wants a truck, a fire truck, probably. I don't know, you may know more about that than I do.
Oh.
It's a, it's a 48,000 with it's a diesel with air brakes, single axle, very short. Part of what makes the thing so sketchy. But I can't really guess. We've had not very good luck selling used up fire trucks.
It does say 2,000 gallons on page 50 of this town report.
Didn't catch that.
And
Unless it is.
any of you guys familiar with the last incident that we had with getting a fire truck? Where it was said that it was all rotted out and wouldn't pass inspection.
This truck's not John.
It's a good truck still.
It's not a bad truck. It has a few things. It's going to need a clutch. The clutch is right up at the top of its adjustment.
Mhm.
It's going to need a fairly serious set of work on the front brakes. We had a brake failure a couple of years ago down by Pikes where the one front brake walked right out, the truck wouldn't move. We took it to Pepin's. They fixed it at what they decided was a safe level of fix. But we got one of those speeches that's, days come and the next time we have to get in there, boys, you're going to have some more expensive parts. We don't put a lot of miles on them, but the day will come when we have to have that done. There's a bit of rot. The cab is exceptionally good. I'm really impressed with how the cab is. There's a fair bit of rot on things like step supports, bumper supports. The hinges for the front hood are horrible shape. They're going to have to be addressed. Probably not terribly expensive in any individual thing, but they add up. I've noticed a fair bit of rust on the bottom of the air tanks.
Rear bumper.
The rear step is bad. It's probably not that expensive a deal, but it's a pain in the butt. It's got to be all cut apart so well that it's not wood. And we don't know what the condition of the tank is. Tank is presumably, this truck was not always a fire truck. It has some commercial history and we don't know what it is. The tank is presumably more or less the same age as the truck. It's mild steel, bare inside. We get rust out of it every time we dump it. Short of crawling under it, drilling holes, I don't know how to tell how thin it is. And I don't really want to crawl under it and drill holes. So, I don't want to predict how long that's going to last. Next week, next 15 years, I don't know. But it won't be an issue with another truck. we all will be retired from this public service business when this tank, if we get this, it goes away.
It is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It
1
is.
year, and it's it puts a a nail in the coffin for regionalization. Ambulance services are going through it now. All of the small towns where they're coming to their appropriate villages or towns or whatever and asking for money, and that figure is going up and up and up. And currently, there is discussion going on. In fact, this evening, relative to regionalization. So,
Yeah, we're trying to avoid that, and by we, I don't mean Newport Center. Rural fire departments in general, and the neighborhood are fighting hard, and our mutual aid system is what's keeping us all alive. There really isn't anybody that's completely happy with their staffing. Even Newport at certain times of the day. Some places are better than others.
well, what I'm getting at is having volunteer services where you have to put in 400 hours or whatever it is to get a license to be a firefighter and then get paid nothing to do it. That's another one of those things that's pushing it into having a paid fire thing that's sitting off the side that, a regional whatever.
It may come someday.
And again, having all this equipment here, because it makes sense to have equipment here.
Well, in terms of tankers, you would have to have it regardless. It would have to be somewhere.
Right. Oh, I'm just.
We've been to 2 fires in the last couple of months where.
How many calls do you guys do here in town last year?
We're up to, I just did all reports, 45. That's total calls. That's even actually including some service calls for the town.
Car accidents and stuff
Car
like
accidents, cleaning out culverts for the town, the sewer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Car accidents were huge this year. We've had some structure fires. But like I said, the water system in town, in here, is getting good. But we got to worry about everywhere else that doesn't. We got 5 dry hydrants that just got checked yesterday, and 3 of them are working. 1 wasn't plowed out on Lake Road, and of course the one over here is caked with mud that you're not going to get any water out because the water level is so low. So yeah, for in town, I mean, if we get the hydrants going, that's one thing, but the town is much bigger, and we got to go out there, and there's not a lot of water sources completely in the town, especially in wintertime to get to, so.
Well, it is the select board's responsibility to put these items on the agenda for town meeting. So,
The last 2 fires we've gone to, one was a barn, one was a house. And this is a tanker, and we, we had 8, a minimum of 8 tankers on sea
8 in Albany, and I think it was 11.
in Mansonville. And every one of them was being used, and in Mansonville it wasn't enough. We ran out of water twice before the tankers got back. So the tankers are a vital part of this area. You could do away with some other pieces of equipment, but as rural as we are, the tankers are a vital part.
what do you guys think?
It's up to the voters.
I was gonna say, we don't appropriate
Yeah,
this.
there's no I understand it. It's just I want to try to get the message across that it may be a hard road to hoe.
Yeah, I think you guys better be ready that night there.
Yeah.
We understand.
We're mild compared to what it's gonna be down there, you know that. But we're asking some of the questions that you're gonna hear down there and more. So.
The other item I had is when you put your budget together, I mean, you don't show anything for equipment, like the trucks or the replacing them,
As an item,
depreciation on them, or anything.
We don't have line items for those things. We've always asked for.
That part of a budget, though.
Yeah. I know.
It is, but I mean, we don't wanna raise our yearly budget up. I mean, yeah, we could ask for, 50,000 and say, hey, we're gonna put 15,000 away to gain towards a truck someday. How's that gonna look? That, while the fire department's hoarding money over here, they're not spending 15,000 a year. We're just hoarding it up, and then, that doesn't look good for our budget either.
But if you had a line item for depreciation, and over 10 years, it adds up. I mean, we do that here with our equipment.
Yeah.
We don't ever go to the voters and ask for a backhoe or a
The
bucket.
people would see it.
You're
and it
gonna
would make
see
a
it.
big difference for them.
We charge, every time a piece of equipment goes out, we charge an hourly fee for that. It goes in our budget. It's what, 60,000 a year? Roughly, somewhere around that, for all of the equipment getting used. And that goes in our budget. So that accumulates up, we get a pile of money, and we can buy a new loader or grader or whatever. So I'm just bringing that out.
In the past, we've been advised by select boards that we should not have any money left. At the end of the year, we should not be saving or accumulating money at all, because we're asking for an operating budget. If there's a way around it, we're certainly willing to talk about it. The other thing is we're very much not knowing what we're going to spend every year. Our calls and our problems can vary dramatically. We had to replace some valves this week that we didn't know we were going to have to replace. That's a $1,600 expenditure, which we will absorb. We will work around it. We will find a way to fit that into what we do, because there's a certain amount of that every year. But I remember one year, 30 years ago, when we blew the rear end in a truck and it almost destroyed us. That was back when we were getting $5,000 or $7,000 probably. But that was half of our budget for the year. And that sort of thing potentially could happen. We never know how many fires we're going to have. We're a little bit up in the air about fuel costs. We've been able to do some level funding here for 2 years now or 3 years, because we've gained a little on fuel. It was super high for a while. And, but there's a lot we don't know about what we're going to have to spend every year, because we're volunteering on call.
Even plowing and sanding. I mean, last year we didn't spend a lot because we didn't have a lot of snow. This year, I'm sure we're up over what we spent last year.
I doubt it.
You don't think so? Well, probably with all the ice.
You
But,
guys-
it's just
You have
so
a board
important.
of directors, right?
We do.
And that 175 is approved by them?
We don't do it that way. We do it by popular vote at a meeting. Every member has a vote. Our board of directors is generally reserved for emergency expenditures. There have been, like I said, that case we blew a rear end out years ago, where the board of directors has to get together and agree to borrow some money or find some other way to do something. They have that authority. They're not used much. We try to do everything by consensus.
Denise, do we have any idea at $175,000 what that would be on the tax rate?
I do not.
$20.
I would say, good rule of thumb was a penny for every $15,000 that we spent.
A penny for every 15,000.
All right. We're
The
gonna be-
good news is that will be the last truck if we don't ruin one for a while. There will be other
It was recorded, Steve.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
So the next time you guys show up,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna play this back.
Okay. I'm hoping the next time we
Right.
show up, it won't be me and it won't be you.
I mean, good example. Our rescue was done. The ambulance they bought. How many years ago?
Yeah, we bought it for $1 and it cost us a
$1.
fortune.
Yeah, and that's no longer in service, and we're not even gonna try to replace that. It's just one of those. You figure out what you prioritize, what you need. We need water more than we need. An old ambulance sitting there costing us money to fix. So try.
Is
Like
there
everything
room
else.
inside your facility to put an ambulance in there? that would staffed by a regional organization?
Probably.
could be.
The ambulance itself would probably be easy. What else they would need, we would have to just, would they need an office? Would they need any such thing as that? I don't know.
No, it would just be a place to.
I suspect it could be done.
I'm just a bigger picture thinking of things going on, and we've got a nice facility there. So
Good. I think it would be possible.
thank you. Well, we're gonna put it on there.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We won't fight you.
We can't guarantee it. It'll be up to the people.
There is no guarantee.
We absolutely understand that, and we'll live with it.
Do you guys want these at all?
No,
Fair.
go ahead.
No, that's okay. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thanks, guys.
You'll need them at town meeting.
Right.
You probably ought to have some pictures.
We'll have Lowell come up with theirs,
Yeah.
basically.
Should have pictures. You should have pictures of theirs. Anyway.
Okay, then item 8, that's just the usual one. And then 9, 10, 11, 12 under school.
Those numbers will change based on the corrections we have tonight.
Oh,
Not the school. I mean,
No.
under school. Okay.
And then 13 is the general fund, so I'm gonna have to change that before you put it in there. And then 14, I'm gonna have to change that and bring it back to you. But we might as well go and see if there's any other corrections before I make those changes, right? And then 15 is $15,000 for the listers budget, yep,
That's the same.
yep. And then.
And they put together a budget for us, right?
Yep, well, I asked them about it and they wanted the same as last year. And then the other one is to put the remaining fund balance into the reappraisal fund. That's the amount.
Mhm.
Then the library,
3,000.
yep, I've got a letter from them saying they want the same thing, 23,000.
Okay.
And then RCT, this is their thing, it's $5,000.
And all the signatures are appropriate?
And then the Frontier Animal Society, they were asking for $500 again. I just wanted to just. And then with these cancel on aging,
1,200?
1,200.
What,
Yep, they had changed it. They had,
every one of them?
Yeah.
I see they penciled in.
yep, that was prior to these signatures. They changed them and they made copies. All of them have 1,200 on them.
Prior to the signatures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. They had them on the counter here.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was some
That
on
would
the
be a fast one, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, wouldn't it?
No. The Old Stone House, 5 1/4, right there.
Yep.
Northeast Kingdom Human Services. This is theirs. And this one is 1674.
Yep.
And Umbrella. They have 2 actually on their thing, Umbrella. The first one is $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is $1,000 for the food.
They don't have, there's no, like the foods provided, meals provided. I just was curious.
I don't know, that's just what they're,
Brian, okay.
Yep.
That's a question asked in a town meeting.
yes, sir. And then, Orleans County Citizens Advocacy was
500,
500 right here.
one-to-one relationships.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Oh, get me started.
the Orleans County Sheriff's Department is, 13,078.99.
Yep.
And
That's
then,
based on per capita, right?
no, that's just on the budget, I
I
didn't
think it's through the budget.
No,
How do you come to 99 cents?
Don't know. It's gas, it's office supplies, it's, I don't know how they break it down.
99.
I know.
Okay.
I
Well, they're pretty specific.
that's right.
You're right down to it.
I just, it looks
Yeah.
like it was based on per
I'd make
capita,
it-
and
I'd-
it comes after that.
Well,
Well, they
they're-
get
they're-
13,079.
they're billing X amount of dollars an hour, and that's not $50 an hour, it's the man plus the cruiser, and it comes out to a
Yeah.
how much an hour, and could be $43.82.
Okay,
You know, so that then you
Yeah.
finalize the whole bill, you're getting so.
okay.
So.
Good explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
And then
That's my story. I'm
the
sticking to
Newport
it.
ambulance, that's what the 45,922, that's the amount they asked for at the select board meeting, that's in the minutes. And then DNA and hospice,
Mhm.
4,200.
Yep.
4,200. And then, last year, the taxes were due on October 25th, this year, October 26th is on a Friday, so October 20th, it's usually between the 25th.
My anniversary, you can't do it that day.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
Friday's the
that's a
25th?
that's a mistake. No, 25th, that says 2017, that's gonna be 2018.
Okay, you can change that. Okay. And it is the 25th?
Yep, the 25th is on a Thursday.
Okay.
So, yep. But I'll change that to 2018 prior to you guys signing it.
Now, a couple of select board meetings ago, you guys had asked me to get a quote from the Missisquoi Valley Ambulance Service. So I did do that. They got a written request that came in, and I called her today, Jennifer Piet, and asked her what type of system they had there. I mean, I wanted to be able to compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So the quote from Missisquoi Ambulance is $38,809. And the quote that we got from Newport Ambulance was $45,922. There's a difference of $7,000. So I called her up to find out if they had like 24/7 coverage like Newport Ambulance does, and what they had for ambulances and what they had for crews. And so she told me they have 2 ambulances, and at nighttime they don't have, like Newport Ambulance has facility for their crew to stay on site. They don't have that in Missisquoi, but what they do is pay a crew to be in their own beds at home. So when the call comes in, they have to jump up, get dressed, drive to the ambulance, and then leave. So there's a slight time lapse there, but they do have every night on call a crew. So during the day, they have a crew there at the facility. And during ski season, she said they try to have an extra crew on all the time. So there's 2 crews during the day. One, though, is specific to the mountain. And then they said that she told me that they do not have a contract. So like we have to sign with Newport Ambulance, or would sign with Newport Ambulance, they don't have a contract there. I'm bringing all that information forward. Do you want a copy of this, Barry?
Yeah, I'd like that. Thank you.
So we'll get him a copy of that after. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is that there's these, and I hinted to it a little bit in regionalization with the fire department, that tonight there's a meeting in Derby with the Derby Select Board, with Newport Ambulance, and with the hospital. Dr. Benelli, he's there tonight. The hospital's pushing big on having regionalization for ambulance services. These little places are just, like dying. They can't survive. So,
Right.
So there may be outposts, and that's why I asked the fire department if they had room for an ambulance. They may put something. I don't know. That'll be them doing that anyway. But we've been with Newport Ambulance for since ever.
Yes.
I can remember.
Me too.
The appropriation has gone up considerably. So hopefully, when they get more towns involved, those appropriations will go down.
I think back when we were young, they were the only show in town anyway.
They were.
I don't think there was any region.
Right. So, and if they're talking regionalization, and Newport Ambulance has the structure now in place to carry that out. They're currently doing the billing for all of these small ambulances to Medicaid and Medicare.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they submit the bills to Newport Ambulance, they bill, and then back and forth. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a $7,000 savings if we go with Missisquoi. But then if this whole regional thing comes around, we're gonna end up back with Newport Ambulance anyway, so, you know, my
That'll
feeling,
take several years to.
right, my feeling would be is to just stay with Newport Ambulance for this year and see what the appropriations come back in for next year and how this regionalization all plays out.
And I'm not real sure not having a contract is good. If Missisquoi decided to go belly up in the middle and then we gotta find somebody else, they could double it on us. Right?
$800 a call from Newport.
Yeah, or more.
Or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
You know, cause then we gotta designate with someone. If they went, you
But
know,
again, it's not us that
Right, but I had called the secretary, or I had Denise call the Secretary of State's office today because I was unclear on how to proceed with this on the warning for town meeting. And because they are, we don't ask for a petition, that it's in our lap. And we can't put two on because then there's no definitive back and forth. I mean, how do you vote one, go to the next, and then, decide I'd rather vote this one. You could end up with two, or you end up with none.
I see.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the recommendation for Secretary of State's office was that we choose what we put on there and have the voters vote yes or no on it. So it's up to us what we put on there.
Well, I still say we should put Newport on there. Now that only because Newport's 24/7, so, you know, and Missisquoi's not. I mean, they may be paid to be at home, but there's still a 6, 8, 10 minute
Oh, yeah.
to the station.
There's a lag time.
Whereas Newport gets up, gets in the ambulance and goes.
Charleston has already voted to go with Newport Ambulance.
Yeah.
it almost in some ways looks like apples to apples, but it really
It's
isn't.
not.
It
No.
really isn't. If you put the pros and cons, put them side by side, they're not. When you were reading that through, and I'm thinking, you know, like where you started off with, they have 2 ambulances. Newport has 4 or 5.
Yes, they do.
You know, the on-call, they have a shift that's in bed. The other has probably more than 1 shift there ready to go. During the day, they definitely have more, plus people on. In ski season up to JP, they could have both ambulances up there.
They
Good.
could.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that place is. So
And then-
I guess I'm.
And then mutual aid would kick in.
Right.
Yeah,
That's where mutual aid is good.
and we still don't know if that, you know, Newport gets that to go through. They could be hitting us for $800 a pop too, if that happens. I
And they
think we need
did
to-
say if they're coming out and it's not for mutual aid, but because the Missisquoi, for whatever reason, could not
Fill the crew.
fill the crew,
Then
then they were gonna come and bill us for $800 a call.
Correct.
So
I think we need to stay with Newport myself. So.
didn't
Well-
take too many $800 to make up the $7,000 difference, so.
No, and how many calls was there last year? I mean, we haven't seen it for this year, but
84.
Yeah.
Hey, that's 6 in my head. I don't know.
For,
not saying that all of them would be.
Yeah, I don't have all of their reports yet.
Yeah.
But,
He could tell you.
No,
about
I think we
2016.
need to stay with Newport at this time.
I just wanted to bring that up, is that we have in the minutes, you guys wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I'm gonna go change his figures on.
Okay.
It was responded totally. They responded to 1,451 calls.
For Newport Town?
No.
Oh, okay.
Newport Ambulance.
Okay. All right.
102 of them
For Newport Town.
were for
Okay.
here.
All right.
That was in 2016.
Yeah.
And I brought all the books so that
I
we
see
could
that.
see what the. if
Hey, the
anybody-
voters can still vote this down. Then,
Oh,
then we have
absolutely.
to find someone else.
Absolutely. Yep.
That is correct.
So it doesn't, you
I
know,
think it's up to us to bring the best foot forward, and
I think
that's what we've done. And
Okay, so we'll leave that on there then. I just wanted to fill you in on.
Yep.
All of that. Okay. Anything, what else was on the agenda? Unfinished new business?
yeah.
You got something? No, I don't have to. Okay.
We don't need an executive session. And if Denise gets these numbers corrected, we can sign on.
Up until the fire department came forward, our tax rate wasn't going to be too awful bad.
Yeah. Well, we were $100,000 lower.
Yeah.
In the highway department.
Yeah.
So we only went up 5,000 in the town budget.
Yeah.
So big increases with Newport ambulance and now
Since
the
I've been
fire
on-
department. Both of these.
Since I've been on the board, we had a lot of years that we were level funded, and the only time we really went up much was paving or insurance purposes.
That's right.
You know, and that was like a 1 year thing for the paving, but the insurance, I mean, we just don't have.
Don't you think their equipment should be included in their budget?
Being that they're volunteer and the way that they don't really,
How do you
You know,
show that?
but it would be hard with, you don't know how many calls you're gonna get. You could eat your budget up in a hurry if you did.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And there's no guarantee of that money every year. I mean, it's pretty guaranteed, but you know, you have, what'd they say they had for calls last year, 40?
Yeah, 45.
You know, you hit that to 80, what's that gonna do to them? You know, if you're budgeting it that way, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, 45 calls total. That's working for the town. That's going up to Magog. That's going out to Troy. That's, you know, not all of them are here in Newport Center.
Let me get that out.
Yeah, just to double check.
Are we double checking?
So for,
Number 12.
Article number 13, yours says 245.
Yep.
And we upped it to 248, 550, 189, because that's $3,000 for the centennial.
Oh, okay.
And then for Fred's budget, we upped it by, the 5,000 for the sign.
Does
and then
that change number 14?
Yeah,
That's Fred's budget. She's getting.
yeah.
Oh,
number
okay,
14, yep.
okay.
And then we had to up that by the 5,000 for the road sign, and then the 2640. So we had to up that by 7640. So that brought that up to 651, 916. And then the
I didn't write that down.
248.
Okay. Just change that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And then we double checked all the numbers, because one year, remember did the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Does that change the thing on the next page of the state aid?
Nope, state aid
Okay.
is, that's the
Okay,
4
that
times a
stays,
year.
yeah.
And then Article number 29, October 25th, 2018.
Okay.
Good enough?
So we signed before the school board?
Yes, and then they'll sign Thursday night every meeting. But it's
Okay.
dated because it's yours, and then they just piggyback on it.
Blue or black?
Black.
I guess that's black, isn't it? Should do it in green.
Mine was blue.
Okay, sorry about that.
There's another one there. I think that's red or pink or something.
That may be the green one. Oh, we should have said that. It is.
Yeah, it's that time, guys.
Should have used the green one.
It's worth it. I
All right. I make a motion we adjourn.
That's
Thanks,
it.
guys.
I second it.
Thank you very
We're
much.
out of here. 6:30.
Supper should be cold.
6:30.
Old man would be out of here by 6.